Hey everyone, this is Bill Gaylor. I'm the Microsoft Practice Director for Taborda Solutions, and welcome. You're all here to learn a little bit about Microsoft Teams. So we're all searching for ways to continue business as usual. As a consulting company who focuses on Microsoft technologies, we've been kind of immersed in Microsoft Teams for the last couple of years. And so we thought we would provide some insights, kind of the good, bad, and the ugly, if you will, of Microsoft Teams. There's a lot of good. So just to get into some housekeeping, this particular session is strictly on meetings and chat. If there's interest in other features of Microsoft Teams, such as Teams and channels, files, so forth, we'll be sending out a survey. So please make sure you upvote for additional features. Otherwise, if they don't get upvoted, then obviously we're not going to do sessions if there's no interest in that. Also, if you have any questions there's a chat panel. You can ask your questions there. Well, I'll do is I'll capture those questions and then go back over those questions at the end of the session. So it's broken up. 30 minutes will be on presenting Teams and on meetings and chat. And then the last 15 minutes, I'll go through the questions. Also, we'll be sending out a leave behind, if you will, with all the questions and the answers. So if I don't cover them in the meeting, then we'll definitely cover them in the document. Also, this is a Teams meeting of a Teams meeting. So typically you don't do that, but we're doing that because we want you guys to have the full experience. But there may be a little bit of wonkiness, so we appreciate your patience. With that, I'll turn it over to Robin, and she can take it from there.
Thank you, Bill. Hi, everyone. I'm Robin Rebel, and I'm the Office 365 analyst with Taborda Solutions, and we work on Teams every day, regardless of the current climate, but we find ourselves on it at home, in every single meeting now. So we want to give you some of the basics, the tips and tricks in here. I'm actually sharing my screen right now. And what I did is I opened up, you'll see this bar here. These are the most important features that you could use in a meeting. Right here is the hide conversation or show conversation. This is where we'll have you type in your questions if you have them. So I just wanted to show you that. But let me back up and talk about joining a Teams meeting as a participant. So when you get a meetings invite, you have a link and you can click into that, and what you see is a screen that looks like this. Oops, hang on. That looks like this typically. Now it'll ask you, do you want to download the Windows app if you haven't already done it, or do you want to join on the web instead? You can join on the web. It just doesn't give you all of the features. You might not be able to share your screen. You might not, there's just different things that you may or may not be able to do. And we are always using the Windows app. So we recommend that you use that. If you've already got it downloaded, you could just click Launch Now and it will take you into it. And you can see down at the bottom, I've got Teams already downloaded on my laptop, and I just open it up straight from here. So that's important. The other thing that is important to know is that when you, let me get back to the meeting here. When you want to join with a cell phone or an iPad, I recommend that you download the free Microsoft Teams app. and that's going to give you a better experience. So you'll want to join that way. Another benefit of that is if anyone from your organization is trying to get a hold of you and they're trying to chat with you, it'll show up on your phone as it looks like a text message, but it's coming through Teams. So I recommend doing that. Up at the top, when you get into a meeting, we have this command bar, and this is where a lot of activities are going to take place. The first thing I'm going to have you pay attention to is this circle over here. This one has my photo in it. When you click in it, you have various things that you can do to set yourself up in Teams. One is you can change your picture. If you don't have a picture in there, you've got your initials. We see a couple people in the meeting right now with their initials. If it's all right in your organization and you feel comfortable loading a photo, that's a nice way to kind of get familiar if you're not going to be sharing your video screen. We also have this status available here. Now this is always pulling from your Outlook calendar. This is synced up and integrated with Outlook. Right now, because I'm in a meeting and I'm presenting, it's automatically set to do not disturb. And so if people are trying to chat with me, it's not going to interrupt and show up on my screen. It's going to be collecting in the background and I can go check those out later. I do want you to note though, when you change these yourself, it stays that way until you change it again, right? So until you close and reopen and refresh it. So if I were to change this to available right now, it's going to stay available until I refresh my session. The other thing that's nice in here is you can set your status message. So if I'm somebody that gets a lot of chats during the day and people are looking for me and I'm out maybe for a morning session with a client, I could say, Thursday 4/16, whoops, 4/16 available in afternoon, or just give a brief little update so that people can see what's going on. It's not like, how she's not here, I wonder why she's not on. You're just letting people know, a brief little message on what's happening. The other thing that we like to show here is in settings. This is where your devices are. You can see I'm wearing a headset. This is a Logitech headset and I have it plugged in. It's a USB and it plugs right into the port there. And before I ever start a meeting, I just test it out in here and make sure, do a test call, make sure that the sound and the speaker is working, the microphone. I highly recommend doing that. You can see it's automatically going here, but I can switch it over to my PC mic and speakers. We found that it is best to use a headset if you have one. These cost around $30 to $50. They're not super expensive, but it's nice because it has noise cancellation and you can't hear the noise in the background. Okay, so that's up in here. The other thing up here that we have is if you need to do a quick chat with someone, you can click on this button and type in the person you want to talk to. So if I needed to talk to somebody in our organization, I can type their name. It comes up. This is not somebody I've ever had a conversation with before, and I can begin a thread or a chat with them. The other thing I do want to notice over here, if there are people that I speak with a lot, these are people I talk with every day. I usually pin them up to the top so I don't have to go and search for them every time. So let's say Naomi is somebody that I haven't normally spoken with her, but I'm finding that all of a sudden I'm needing to have conversations with her. I can right click her and put pin, and it puts her up at the top with these people that I speak with the most. Another thing that is good to know is this search or command function up top. If there was a conversation that I need to get back to, there was a lot of talk before this session when we were preparing where we were talking about the virtual lobby. And so if I need to get back to that conversation, I can click on lobby. And this shows every time we've ever talked about a lobby. So I could go back to these conversations. Okay. When I click on them, they go back to there. Okay, so We are hearing some folks in the meeting, and this happens. This definitely happens. So let me get back to our team meeting. Oops. Sorry. Here we go. All right, so when you are in a meeting like this and we hear noise, right? And this happens, especially in large groups. Sometimes people don't know they have a hot mic on and they're talking. We can go and show participants here. We've got this bar right here. And I'm going to click on Show Participants. And in here, I have the ability to mute all as the facilitator. So we just can quiet it if there's something going on. Oftentimes people don't know, and, we can just quickly go in there and mute them all. And we let people know you're all muted. You can unmute yourself through this button right here. The other thing that's nice about looking at the people is that who's in here. I mean, right now I can only see the last 4 people that we've heard, right? We heard Bill and some of these other folks that joined. What you can do, because this happens often, is we'll hear people say, well, who's in the meeting? And you click on the people and you can see who's all here, right? And so you see who's in this meeting with us. So that can be very helpful. And when noise is happening, what happens is, Bill, if you can unmute yourself for a minute and say something. When somebody speaks,
Bill is speaking right now.
he turns bold. His name turns bold. Yeah, so that's kind of a good thing to know when you're trying to figure out where's that noise coming from, right? Especially in a smaller meeting. You can see where that's coming from and mute everybody. So that's a nice little feature. We are also being recorded, as we're going to record this and post it for people who were not able to attend. We have this section here called More Actions. If you go into here, this is where you can change. Often, many of us can do this right now. I'm not sure if it's been dropped to all, but we've got background effects. We definitely can set it to where your background is blurred. If I click that one, it just makes me stand out more and you don't have the background images going on. I've heard a lot of funny stories about things with people working from home on things that are going on behind them that they don't know about, that's distracting the whole meeting. So that's good to either put it on this or to choose one of the others. That some of my favorite, I really like this one. This reminds me of a San Francisco office. Looks like I'm sitting there. So we've got these backgrounds available for us in more backgrounds. The other thing that we have, I'm going to move that out of the way, is we have turn on live captions. This is a nice little feature. When you turn that on, for only for yourself, not everyone's going to see this unless you're sharing your screen like I am. You've got captions, live captions that are coming on in the left-hand corner or in the bottom. So that is a nice feature that you have with Teams. Other things that you can do, and I do this a lot, is I enter full screen. So if someone is sharing their screen with me, what I'm seeing is a small image of their screen inside of my Teams. And sometimes it's hard to see. There's a lot of clutter on the screen where I can see all of my options available to me. So I just hit full screen. And when I hit full screen, it just gives me exactly what's on the screen and all of the clutter is removed. The thing to remember that when you do this, when you go to get out of this, let's say you want to have a side conversation, you're not ready to leave the meeting yet, you don't want to hang up, but you need to have a side conversation. Maybe we need to try to do a chat and pull someone into this meeting with us. If you click anywhere and I'm sharing and you have a full screen, you're just clicking on my read-only screen, like you're not able to do anything. So to get out of full screen on your computer, you just want to hit escape and it shrinks it back down to the small version and you have your own options on the side again. So I found that to be very helpful. All right, so here we have the turn camera on or turn it off. When you turn it off, it should give you an image of my picture. I can't see that right now, but hopefully you can all see that. You can also, if you have a laptop or something where you can slide the window closed, you can close it. I've got mine closed right now. You can see my office. I'm not there. Just remember, when you go back in, you just slide it open again. So I have it up at the top here. That's where I'm reaching right now. All right. Some of the other things that are very helpful are sharing your screen. There's going to be times when you want to collaborate on something that is on your screen, whether you're calling your help desk or whether you're in a meeting and you need to share a presentation to folks, you're going to want to share your screen, and that's right in the middle here. Now, because I'm already sharing, I need to show this to you on our window here, or our PowerPoint. And what happens is before I share with you, it looks like this. So there's this button in the middle. Usually the arrow is pointing up. As soon as you click it, it drops down and it gives you some choices. And so let me explain to you what these choices are about. We've got a desktop. If I share my desktop, I'm sharing everything with you. No matter where I go, you're going to see everything that I've got open. That's what I'm doing right now. You could just share one application. So maybe I just want to share with you this application. It looks like I've got a PowerPoint right here. Or I want to share with you just my calendar. I don't need anyone to see anything else on my desktop. Or you could just share a specific PowerPoint that you've been working on. So this is telling me right here, these are the ones that you've been working on recently, or do you need to share any of these? It's guessing. And if what I need to share isn't here, I can click on Browse and go and find it and pull it up, and then I will be sharing that. There's some other options over here too, such as Whiteboard, where people can draw together within a meeting if you are doing some collaboration as if you were in front of a whiteboard. Okay, so that is sharing your screen. I find that to be really useful. I also like this, include system audio. In the past, that wasn't available. So if you're sharing some sort of video where there's sound, this is a nice little feature to use. And then the other thing I want to show you that you cannot see right now is that when you are sharing something, there is a red outline on your screen that lets you know that, hey, everybody can see this right now, so you don't forget. Then the last thing you want to do is be sharing your screen and then going off and working on something else, and everybody can see you either responding to an email or or writing a chat. So just be very aware of where you are and if you are sharing, and you can always stop sharing if you need to go and have those conversations on the side. Okay, so getting back into my Teams meeting. All right, so those are these buttons down here. These are your most important ones. Now up here, we've got some other important buttons. Activity is a good place to go at the beginning of the day or after meetings that you've been in, back-to-back meetings, and you know that you've either missed some calls or some chats, and a quick way to get in there is to click on activity. And we have this little filter or funnel. You can click on it and you'll get this more options button. When I click on this, I could see, is there anything that is unread? Right, and so here I missed a call. It's showing me that I missed that from Kristen yesterday. There's other things in here, such as, are there any app mentions? Let's say that earlier in the week, I know that my boss app mentioned me, and I just want to make sure that I addressed all of those actions that he was pointing out to me. I can click on app mention. This shows me every time there's been an app mention with me in it. So here I could look here. When I click on it, it makes it yellow, it highlights it, it shows where he was asking me. This is the little symbol that shows up. Robin, are you in this webinar? Right, so there's different ones in here where you can go back to. It only turns yellow for a second to get your eye there, and then it fades away. So that's app mention, and you can app mention people as well to call their attention to specific chats. And I also like this missed call. This is where I can go in and see what missed calls have I caught up with all of these people and the date that they called me. So that's in your activity level, your activity button. chat, this is the one, these are your informal chats or your one-offs that you can have. So I talked to you previously about pinning them to the top, but these are just sort of informal meetings. It's equivalent to like stopping by someone's desk. Hey, do you have a second? Hey, do you have a minute to chat about this? This is where you go to do that. The calendar is integrated with your Outlook. So we talked about that a little earlier, where it's pulling from your calendar to note to give people your status, right? But the calendar is also where you can go to join meetings or create meetings. So in here, this is a quick way to go in, and I can bypass all of that, those screens where it says, do you want to download the app? Do you want to join on the web? I could just go straight into the calendar. And when I click on the meeting that I want to go into, I can join it. I can double click it and go in, but typically what happens, even though I'm already in it right now, there'll be a little button here that says join, and you click it and you go right into the meeting, and you have all the features and functionality right there for you. The other piece that you can do, if I needed to set up a meeting, let's say I wanted something set up at 2, it's just like if you're in Outlook. It's just laid out a little bit differently. So I could say meeting review. I want to meet with Brianna and Bill and Taylor. So I add them in. I've got it set for 2 to 2:30. It's giving me suggestions based on their calendar. So it looks like everybody is available at this time. But I could also look using the schedule assistant. Where do we all, there it stacks us all together. You see all of our calendars. Where do we all have availability? And maybe 4 is a better time, right? Or maybe if today is too busy, we go over here tomorrow and set it up for 11:30 to 12, just like you would in Outlook. So I'm going to go ahead and send this. And here it is over here, tomorrow, meeting review. When I open it up, what it does when you do it from Teams is it embeds that link in there with the phone number. Some people will call in with the conference number. Some people choose to do it that way. But the thing that I want to point out to you, because I'm sure you all know how to set up meetings in Outlook, but you can go in here and go into your meeting options. And this is going to give you a little more control as a facilitator if you're the owner of the meeting. In here, this is our defaults. Who can bypass the lobby? This is a virtual lobby. Let's say I'm in back-to-back meetings, and before my next meeting starts, I'm trying to wrap up the previous one, and I don't want outside people coming in. I need to wrap it up. So I keep the people for the next coming meeting waiting in a virtual lobby. That might be something that I want to set. So I could say right now I have it set to everybody can bypass the lobby. I want everybody to come in. It doesn't matter. I don't want to have them waiting. But you can set it to other settings, people in my organization and trusted organizations, or only people in my organization. And if I have guests, I want to have them wait until we're ready to let them in. All right, I'm going to move that back. And then here's a nice one. This is a new one that was dropped this week. Announce when callers join or leave. So you know if people were there or not, because you might have someone do roll call at the beginning if you have a very large meeting, but perhaps when they leave, you're not aware of it. So you're thinking that everybody heard the information, but we didn't see someone who had to leave. So this might be a good option to set when you're the facilitator of the meeting and you're running it. You can also determine who can present. I like to have it set to everyone because I'm often working with people and I need to see their screens. But if I'm doing something in a setting where I'm the only presenter, maybe I just want to set it to, I don't want anyone to take control of this. It's just going to be me who's presenting, or maybe just specific people or people in my organization. So you have some choices there under meeting options. So I'm going to save that. And that sets it up for that one meeting. Okay, let me head back. The next thing I do want to show you is files. Oftentimes in chats, you can upload files. You'll see if I'm in a chat over here, you've got the ability to attach a file. You can take it from your OneDrive or from your computer and it stays in that chat, but you can also go and find them here. If you're not sure where was that file, what chat was I in when it was saved? Under files, all of them show. So that's a good one to know. And then the final one that I want to point out to you is we have this help feature down here. Microsoft has embedded this in there for us with specific topics and training or what's new that happens in Teams. And I like this one, training. As you're getting up to speed and learning how to use this a little bit more, and as you go in, you'll see we've got these tabs up top that will take you to those same choices. We have some brief videos, or here we have a 3-minute read on how to chat and share files. So there's some things in here that you can go in and check out. I encourage you to do that. And that's pretty much all we have right now. The next one that we've discussed doing, if there is interest, is focusing more on teams and channels. Here I've got some teams and channels. And this is a topic that really deserves a full half hour to itself once you understand all of the other features. So with that, I want to open it up to questions and see if we've got questions that we can answer for you. Let me open it up here.
Yeah, there's one question. Is there a way to let's see, delete a conversation, an old conversation? Yeah, I mean, you can delete an individual chat, but the whole conversation would require a retention policy. So if your admin went into the admin for Microsoft Teams, they can set up a retention policy to remove old chat history. You would, as part of the retention policy, you would indicate like if no one has chatted in that particular either channel or conversation in X number of days or weeks or months or whatever it is, to delete it. So that would be a retention policy that would be set. Let's see. So someone really likes your headset. It's very clear.
Yeah.
So if you could share again what type of headset you're using.
I'm using a Logitech. I don't know the number of it. I've had it for a while. It is comfortable. I do have to say that when I wear it all day, meeting after meeting, there's times when I'm like, I got to get it off. I mean, it's on all day and it covers both ears. The one gotcha on this is that it has this button, if you can see this, and this has happened to all of us. If you accidentally lean on it, or there's times when you press it, you'll mute yourself and you don't know it. And you're like, how come no one's talking to me, right? Or they're not responding as I'm speaking. Just be aware that there is a mute button on there. So that's a little gotcha that I've seen not only happen here, but it's happened in other places when I've used Teams, or previously it was Skype for Business with the very same features. But yeah, I definitely recommend Logitech. I've had them before.
Can you show the background thing again? So one thing, to take into consideration, if you're on the government community cloud, so GCC, so you're a G3 or a G5 or something like that, you won't see this. It's been rolled out to the commercial tenants. My gut tells me that all of the media streaming that they're doing for Teams is all in commercial data centers, and so they've got to move some of that capabilities over to government data centers. So once they do that, then they'll make it available for the government cloud.
So if you don't have the backgrounds yet, I'm hoping that they have at least the blur background. Do you have that? Look like a gentleman named Randy. Do you have the blur background?
Yeah, he's
No.
on the government. He's on the
Okay.
government
Yeah.
tenant.
So they don't have that either yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, well, the government tenant does have the blur background. But it could be that if he's joined via the web, although it looks like he's, because it shows his presence, so it looks like he's actually, so the government tenant does not have a blur background option. So.
And he's on the app. Okay.
Any other questions?
Someone was talking about dragging and dropping documents into the chat window. Can you do that with most documents? I found you can, but I usually just tend to upload. That's just my preference. How about you, Bill? Do you drag and drop?
Into the chat window? Not in a meeting. If we're in a Teams session in the Teams chat, I'll drag and drop. But yeah, you can, down at the bottom, it has like the different icons, shows where you can customize the text, or you can upload a document.
Yeah, right down here. Or you would just upload it. I think it's just preference, but yeah, I know some people do really like to drag and drop. Oh, got a new message.
Yeah, so Ian asks, I can see my photo up at the top, but on the screen, I only see my initials. Why is this? Good question, Ian. I will take that one down and I'll respond in the document with an answer. Off the top of my head, I'm not sure. So up at the top, it means that you're authenticated, but I'm pretty so you're authenticated into Office 365. So what that tells me is that you probably have Office 365, and so that's your profile. But you probably joined. You're outside of our tenant. So I would imagine if we had shared like a Teams environment or a Teams a site, and we'd shared it, and you've authenticated, then you would have the ability to update your photo, and then at that time, your photo would show up in the screen. But I'm assuming that you do have Office 365, but you're in your own Office 365, and so when you're attending our meeting, you're outside of our organization, so therefore only your initials are coming across. But I will get a official Microsoft answer. Any others? Let's see, let's take a look. Yeah, so because you're in the same organization as Ian, then you're both authenticated into your tenant. So your profile is going to show through. So you're going to be able to see Ian because you're both in the same tenant. If you were both in Office 365 and but in different tenants or different organizations, then you wouldn't be able to see one another's unless, like I said, if you were in a Microsoft Teams session and you had shared with Ian and he had authenticated, and then he would get a profile in that tenant, and at that point he can update his picture, which would then show in the Microsoft Teams session. So any other questions? I'll sort through some of these and then add them to a document that we're sending out. We're sending out, so there's 3 things that we're sending out. We'll send out the Q&A. We'll send out a 1-pager. Actually, it's a 2-pager. Maybe it is a 1-pager, but it has a bunch of links, helpful links, and then a survey. And so on the survey, there's questions like, for example, if there's more information that you want to see, you want to see, you want to see how in more detail how calendars works, or teams and channels, or files. So if those are interesting to you, or you're interested in those and you would like us to talk about it, then please upvote those. And then, if there's enough votes, we'll definitely put on another couple of sessions. Okay, with that, thank you very much for attending, and hope you have a good rest of the week.
Yes, thank you for taking your lunch hour to join us.